bill has passed in the Senate. We're going to go right to it and hear some of the responses.
The yeas are 50. The nays are 50. The Senate being evenly divided, the Vice President votes in the affirmative. The bill as amended is passed.
They passed it by the president. The Vice President was the deciding vote. Look at that. Vice President J.D. Vance cast the breaking vote. Senator shrugs through more than 24 hours of voting on the amendment and
it's
procedures.
been a long road to get to today.
Senator
More than a year ago, groups of Republican senators and staff began meeting to lay the groundwork for extending tax relief for hardworking Americans if we were given the opportunity.
The Republicans voted against this bill.
In one fell swoop, Republicans passed the biggest tax breaks for billionaires ever seen, paid for by ripping health care away from millions of Americans, taking food out of the mouth of hungry kids. This is not a big, beautiful bill at all. That is why I moved on the floor to strike the title. It is now called The Act, but it is really a big, ugly betrayal.
Wow. The House worked quickly to pass the one big beautiful bill that enacts President Trump's full America First agenda. Wow.
Hey, Essence.
That is crazy.
Hey, what's up, Chevy? Appreciate it, Essence.
You guys got to discuss, because I really don't really understand all that has partaken. How is this bill going to affect us? Is it going to be a positive for all Americans? Or will this turn out being a nightmare in some aspects, especially if people are really looking at Medicaid. So we don't want anyone really taking off of that. Hey, Chevy. So this is kind of crazy.
If that's allowed to expire today, if this bill does not pass, that hikes taxes for 68% of working Americans.
Right, and the biggest hikes would be.
Okay, Chevy.
So, and also the pro-growth aspect.
We'll do
of this,
it.
right? We want to grow this nation. We want to grow the economy, and taxes are an essential part of that, particularly for corporations.
The Vice President breaking the tie right now, which means they had some no votes from those Republicans. This bill, the big, beautiful bill, has passed because the Vice President of the United States, J.D. Vance, has come to the Hill more than once thinking that he would do this. And when he showed up this morning, they were right. He would be needed. He has done it. Let's listen and see if there is any audio that we can take in.
Okay. Pursuant to the order, 4 February 29, 1960, the hour of 12 noon having arrived, the Senate having been in continuous session since yesterday, the Senate will suspend for a prayer by the Senate chaplain.
Okay.
Let us pray. Eternal, ever-blessed God, help our senators to walk on your path for the glory of your name. Help them to walk with humility so that they will strive to be servants of the people. Help them to walk with forgiveness so that they will forgive as they desire to be forgiven. Help them to walk with courage so that nothing will deflect them from the way they ought to take. Help them to walk with endurance so that nothing may daunt or discourage them until they reach their goal. Lord, help them to walk with loyalty so that nothing will ever seduce their hearts from their devotion to you. We pray in your loving name. Amen.
Amen. more money in my pocket. Okay.
And with that, we are watching now. The big, beautiful bill has passed on the vote, breaking the tie of the Vice President of the United States. And Charles, you were talking about the tax portion of this. What good does this do outside of saving what the president put into place with tax cuts that were monumental, really, for so many Americans across the country? What does this allow him to do going forward?
This is the crux of it all, really, to be quite honest. It's the growth effect, the multiplier effect of businesses keeping more of what they earn, being able to invest that into future products and being able to invest that into employees. And that's what the foundation of the economy is. And listen, obviously, it's one thing when you say things on the campaign trail and when you hope for things on the campaign trail. As we can see, this thing is very contentious. Just your conversation with Chip Roy shows that when it gets back to the House, there's going to be some more, fisticuffs or another Donnybrook, so to speak. But, President Trump put out a post yesterday talking about the growth aspect of this. And I think that's what he's focused on more than anything else. Make the pie bigger, make the economic pie huge so that everyone can get a chance at an opportunity. Because it's one thing to save taxes as a lower income home. It's another thing to have have more prosperity, to grow your job, to grow your business, to have a business, to start a business. And I think that's what the president is aiming for.
Look, what you were talking about, and I want to get into it, Kennedy, at the very end of the Faulkner Focus, Representative Chip Roy and I were watching the lead up, the last few seconds of that final vote, and he said that the cuts that were put in place to make this deal, there are Republicans who, and I would assume he includes himself, are not happy about, and he's hoping that some of that, as Charles has just told us, can be, kind of put back in, I guess, by the House. But the cut down on Green New Deal.
This is
That's
the fastest
not cool.
proven way to actually remove
I don't know.
with
It's like they're still working on it. Like, is the big beautiful bill done, or are they still working on it? It is just crazy.
and I found this new
You
eye
know,
lifting device
when
that
we look
actually
at
gets rid
what's
of
going
pesky-
on.
And they cut some of that out
crazy.
to make a deal today. The giveaways, this is Chip Roy, representative from Texas, talking. The giveaways furthering the Medicaid scam of, this idea that they're not just trying to get out fraud, but they want to just give money away for Senator Murkowski of Alaska to vote yes for this. What are your thoughts on it?
So a lot of that was offsets from Obamacare. So that was expanding Medicaid for states like Alaska instead of really reforming the system. And it is, the way they're doing it, it's still a Band-Aid. It's still a stopgap. And I think they really have to focus more of their attention on these meaningful reforms going forward, because that shouldn't be the thing that kills this bill. That shouldn't be the thing that kills tax cuts. But it opens a very interesting fissure within the party, because you have the constitutionalists like Chip Roy and the Freedom Caucus and the House, and then you have the moderates in the Senate, like Lisa Murkowski and Susan Collins, who's up for re-election. And so they're going to push for the more moderate or liberal aspects of this bill that expand government and expand spending, which is a recipe for disaster when you're trying to cut taxes. If you're going to grow the economy, as Charles says, you also have to cut spending. And that's the issue that people like Rand Paul have with the bill.
Kennedy, do you think that it really came as close enough as Chip Roy, representative from Texas, was laying out, that if they would promise to give Lisa Murkowski the money that she wanted, could Democrats have tanked this in any way? I'm baffled, because we're at a tie, so clearly it was close.
They didn't need Democrats to tank this. The Republicans did it all on their own, because they thought the more comfortable margin would be in the Senate. Because, mathematically, in terms of the ratio of Republican votes, you have more of them in the Senate, and they lost 3 of them. So it's even tighter in the House. So how you go back with this to the House and come up with a compromise, because, these are some pretty big issues. This is still a pretty big gulf that they have to tightrope in order to pass this bill and have it signed.
Well, and the other reason, Jerry, that they thought it might do better or easier, might be an easier road in the Senate, was because the Senate had promised all the spending cuts and all those things. But much of that, not much, but some of that got shaved to the point where Congressman Roy is talking about maybe they're not all comfortable with it, the way it's cut down now.
That's right. So now it has to go back to the House. The House has to vote, obviously. And the question is, how does that happen? Does it happen? And there's a very good chance that it happens, obviously.
I'm confused.
But let me just talk for a second about some of this stuff in this bill that is going to help middle class, because there's been a lot of disinformation about this. And the disinformation is basically that it helps Trump's billionaire friends. Nothing could be further from the truth. Remember, no tax on tips, lower taxes on Social Security, car loans on American cars, those will be deductible. So you're seeing a lot of things in here for regular Americans, going to help regular Americans, and nothing will help them more than Donald Trump's original tax cuts, right? They really help the middle class. It helps the lower class. So this is all good news. I want to say that the CBO has been no help here, because the CBO says that there's going to be 3.3 trillion more in deficits over the next 10 years because of this bill. They got it wrong, and they got it wrong for exactly the reasons we've been talking about. You brought this up earlier, that the economy is going to grow under this bill, right? It's going to get bigger. That's going to spend off more tax revenue and make our country wealthier.
Well, to that point, the CBO on the original tax cut bill said it would cut, that would add, cut 1.5 trillion, and instead it added 1.5 trillion. It would add 1.5 trillion to the deficit. It cut 1.5 trillion out. So in other words, they were a million times wrong, $3 trillion off. So it's really awful with the CBO. Of course, they don't add tariff revenue and a whole lot of other things, but a lot of these folks in DC, really seem to be beholden to it, and it's easy to game. So that always boggles my mind. I feel like it's more for public consumption than it is for actually being in a realistic world.
Yeah, Emily, presidents want that deliverable. They want that initial vision.
See, I don't understand. Like they said, if they didn't pass the bill, then it would cause a 68% tax increase. So this is supposed to help the middle class, but people are saying, oh, this is for the billionaires. So is this for the American people? Is this helping the American people? No tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security, supposed to give more to the elderly. So all the things that are supposed to be in this bill help our border, secure the border, have more ICE agents, more people working on deportation. So people are saying it's like mixed views, and I'm still trying to understand it because they're saying like it has to go back to the House. So I'm really confused.
He's talked all in deep about the numbers, the 2,700 gang members that have been picked up in short order by his administration, illegal gang members, suspected gang members who were here as illegal aliens. So he's having a deliverable there. This conceivably could lead us to another one.
That's right. I spoke with border czar Tom Homan yesterday, interviewing him on Fox Across America when I subbed in for Jimmy. And he shared that the colossal just impact that we inherited from the Biden administration in the way of illegal immigration, he said, will take a decade to actually clean up and address. And we talked about the brave and efficacious work of ICE agents and DHS right now, but the reality is that we have to go internally and clean house. And so what this OB3 does in the way of resources for that and allocation is really paramount, because I think right now we've successfully obviously stopped the floodgates at the border, but the reality is that on the interior front, there's a lot that we don't know, and what we do know is that we need resources for that. And I also spoke with Congressman Rick Crawford from Arkansas, and he talked about the agricultural communities. He said those are the heart and soul of rural America. And when we talk about these tax cuts, I speak with everyone, what is the best for your constituents? What do your people need? It's all the same. That's the entire point, that the massive impact it would have had if this didn't pass or doesn't pass the House. Right. It will be catastrophic and devastating. Child tax credit, families over 68%, small businesses, millions of them. So every single person affected, and the senators Mullen and Tuberville from Alabama and Oklahoma echoed the same. So it may not be perfect, but the reality is it would be devastating if it didn't pass.
Just talking about it plainly, as we often do here, Emily, on the couch, if you can imagine struggling under the high inflation of at 9.1% under Joe Biden in the last 4 years, if you can imagine price setting going to higher rates and never coming back down. I mean, the inflation has come down precipitously as President Trump had promised, But the government doesn't set the prices. We're a capitalistic nation. So, you know, those prices are still high. So to take away people's ability to pay for those prices that they've had to be buckled under and struggled under for 4 years with less money to pay for them if this doesn't pass the House, that's inconceivable. That would be punishment on punishment.
My dad he's almost 80, and COVID almost totally destroyed our small family farm and agricultural community, and it was made all the worse because it was in a blue area in Oregon. And the reality is he now does everything himself for all of that reason. The cost cutting that we have to endure because of the suffocation from federal regulations and the states piling in, you are right. You cannot afford it. We cannot afford to continue that.
All right, we're covering it. So now the bill, the big beautiful bill, goes to the U.S. House.
Hey,
Wow,
I'm Emily Compartment.
yeah, this is
Catch
so
me and my
crazy. So I am so confused. Like the bill passed, the vice president, people educate me. The vice president was the deciding vote. So the big beautiful bill passed. So to my understanding, it goes now to the president's desk to be signed. Now you have Republicans are upset, Democrats are upset. Republicans said that it wasn't enough. They wanted more cuts in the bill, and Democrats are saying it was too many cuts. Which is it? And this is supposed to be beneficial to us. How are American citizens, are we winning? Our whole objective is for us to win. Are we doing better because of the passage of this bill? Because it seemed like it was so important to pass it, because if it didn't, then we were going to get hit with a 65%. That's what they were saying. And so we were not going to recover, I don't think, too well from that. So what would have been a better plan? Now, they were supposed to come together and negotiate it. So that's why I want to see our Congress people, because they represent all Americans. They don't just represent Republicans, Democrats, independents, non-citizens. They're supposed to represent all of us. So they're supposed to come together, and they're supposed to work it out. And they're supposed to work it out on our behalf. That's why they were elected to these positions, to do what's best for us. And that would be refreshing if they focus on doing what's best, not for non-citizens, not for illegal immigrants, not for the rest of the world, but actually for American citizens. That would be refreshing. So I know that Elon Musk and Trump are going at it. He felt as though that he didn't like it because they wanted more cuts. And I think the American people, because we're $36 trillion in debt, and Trump is the only one working to bring any jobs back to the United States that was going to China and the rest of the world. He's the only one that's been working on making it fair as far as tariffs. We pay 170 countries. They tax us with tariffs and overinflate everything. We pay way more than the rest of the world, so he wanted that to be fair. He wanted to bring down prescription drugs, because in UK they could pay $200, but they'll charge us $1,000 or $1,200 or $2,000 for the same drugs. So I see a president that's working. I want to hear what the Democrats are doing for this country, because if we all work together, then that should be beneficial. That should be beneficial to our country. So it's amazing. We have other ones in there. Here, take the other one in the So it's like, maybe you guys can answer that, because we're on here together and this is new. The bill has passed. It has passed. Or do you believe that this will be a positive for the American people? Help me, Jesus. Will this be a positive for the American people? Yeah. So that's a yes. Excuse me. I'm gonna have to drop kick him. Positive, nope. Okay, keep crying. All right. So do you? Yes.
You forgot I got therapy.
You're so beautiful. Thank you.
You forgot I got therapy.
Thank you. We have other chargers. Positive.
Therapy.
Okay. So we are, I think we're all going to find out. South versus North. Double hell no. Yes. Positive. Yes. No Medicaid cuts are going to affect no Medicaid. Yeah, that's the only thing I think in the bill what I've been hearing about. You don't want to see Americans, no one losing their health care, especially when we have opened up our health care, taking care of the world is here now. So I don't want anyone to lose health care. So hopefully that won't affect Americans. So hopefully, this will work out for all of us. But one thing about it, they've been pushing, and he said he wanted this done before the 4th of July. So that part has happened. Today's July the 1st. They've passed the bill. I guess he's going to sign it. But I think that they need to do more explaining, like how is that going to affect Americans individually. I think that there's some great things in it, like no tax on tips. More money is going to be going to American households, American families. But like I said, I don't know, what concerns do you guys have? Are y'all concerned about people losing their health benefits, their Medicaid? Or Medicaid cuts are to people and non-people to system that should not be getting it. Okay, that's pretty much like my concern. I think that American people have gone through a lot in the last 4 years, and people have lost their jobs, they lost living wage jobs, and we need to have people on their feet, because the only way we do well is when everyone is doing well. You can't say, okay, my family is being taken care of, but don't care about what's happening in someone else's household. It doesn't work like that. We need everyone to do well, and that should be the goal. Always, the goal is for all of us to be blessed and prosper, because you got to take care of all Americans. All of us have to do well. So hopefully, I'm trying to see, hopefully this will turn out to be a real positive for all of us. And we needed that, the border needs to be taken care of. And I am going to put up the what's been going on with the other presidents. They all said the same thing as Trump. And I think I didn't even realize it. They all were for the border. Everything he's done, all the previous presidents have said the same thing and have taken the same action. But because it's him, then the house is on fire. So we're going to see what's going to happen at the end of the day. What's really going on. And Elon was totally, completely against this bill. He was fighting this bill. It's funny to have someone on your side, and then when you're supposed to be best friend become your enemy. It's just amazing, like when things like that happen. Like people that were supposed to be close aren't even close any longer. So that's deep. That's deep. So President Trump, I don't know, hopefully he might have spoken on it, some of it. Do they have him? Yeah, they're saying audio only. But President Trump, he's on Air Force One. And let's see if he's speaking.
In a very short period of time, so happy about it. I hope you enjoyed it. Go ahead. Any questions?
Massey.
What about him?
Just give us a little idea of not only who you want to replace
I think he does a good job for the country. He's always a no.
So President Trump is flying back on Air Force One. It's only audio, and he's speaking to the media.
Thomas Massey from Kentucky. And I don't think he's strong. I don't think he's a very smart guy. Good education, but that's about it.
What I should have asked is, to what degree are you trying to make an example out of him so that no one else,
Don't forget to hit the like, share, subscribe.
For some reason, the voters, almost always, they seem to go along with me because they know I'm working hard.
Okay, so what's going on? He's flying back. I was hoping that they would have a live with Trump at this point, that he would be actually speaking to the media, especially after this bill has passed. And it is breaking news. The Senate did pass the big, beautiful bill. Did you guys think that it was going to pass, yes or no?
And we do have
He's just like really getting around today. No, it's not passed. It has to go back. Yeah, that's what I thought they were saying. That it still has to go back through the House. It's so crazy. Like, I thought it was the House, then the Senate, then the president's desk. But yes, they're saying that it has to go back to the House. And I guess once it passed again in the House, does it then, I'm learning up, then does it go, when does it go to, will it go to the president's desk to be signed? They close, right? Yes, and it has I think that they had added some amendments. So I guess they are still in the process of ironing out this bill after the House after the House passed it. Thank you, Jeremy. So that's when it's going to go to the president's desk. So I was, to my understanding, I thought after the deciding vote was passed by J.D. Vance, then they had the majority of votes. I thought after that, then the bill had passed. Well, it passed the Senate. That's what I guess it did, was done. It means less of my taxpayer dollars. Yeah, people are going to have more money take-home pay. You know, you're going to have more money in take-home pay. No matter what, it's going to be a positive for working Americans. That is no tax on overtime. So if you work 40 hours, your normal work week,
will appear on the screen.
it's going to be amazing for you. Because then if you work 20 more hours, 60, however many more hours of overtime, that's all take-home pay. There's no tax on that, because normally then you get your paycheck, say you get bi-weekly, it might look like you work 70 hours, no, like 80, what is it? Like, say 60 hours, 65 hours that week. But by the time you get your paycheck, it's like, you're like, where did my money go? I put in all these hours. But when you work overtime, it's like they take more of your money away. And you're like, I'm working hard, but I'm not seeing it. This, now, when you work that overtime, you're going to rack up. That's going to be all your money. And that's going to be a big difference. So someone like myself that worked overtime, and, you know, you're getting time and a half and all of that, and you're working, say, a 60-hour work week, you're working 12 hours a day, maybe 7 days a week, or something like that, or you're working 13 hours a day, you know, overtime be crazy sometimes. And you're expecting to get this big check, and then when you get your check and you look at your hours, it doesn't add up. You'd be like, what happened to my money? So that's going to be a big difference. And for people that's working in restaurants, food industries, people who are used to getting tips, and the employer, you know, they tax the money. When you leave a tip at a restaurant, then they tax that, you know, so they're not winning like that when it is taxed. So hopefully, and child care, they're giving so much to child care. So we should see, you know, a big difference. But like I said, my only concern is people and, you know, Medicaid. That's been my primary concern.
And we do have more breaking news.
You know, so I don't know if you guys are concerned about that, but I would hate to see people that have worked, and because life happens, that they no longer have their health care for whatever reason. And who decides who can work the 20-hour work week or not? You know, so who's making these decisions?
The Senate just passed the president's massive spending and tax bill.
The Vice President, J.D. Vance, breaking a 50-50 tie to push it over the top. ABC's Christian Cordero has the details from Washington.
On this vote, the yeas are 50, the nays are 50. The Senate being evenly divided, the Vice President votes in the affirmative. The bill as amended is passed.
After nearly 24 hours of debate, the Senate today passing the president's massive spending and tax cut bill. The bill includes roughly $4 trillion in tax cuts for the wealthy and new funding for immigration enforcement, and fulfills some campaign pledges like no taxes on tips and overtime. The bill, by one estimate, would also add at least $3.3 trillion to the debt over the next 10 years. And the bill slashes Medicaid, despite pledges by the president not to touch the program.
Here's what I want on Medicaid. We're not touching anything.
The nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office predicting the bill will result in some 11.8 million Americans losing their health insurance coverage over the next decade.
How can any senator go home and tell their constituents, I'm sorry, I took away your health care because I wanted to give tax breaks to billionaires?
The bill now headed to the House, where House Speaker Mike Johnson can only afford to lose 3 votes. The original text of this bill passed through the House by just 1 vote. One of the Republicans who helped advance it, Representative Don Bacon of Nebraska, has signaled he may not be willing to support this bill. The bill now has to go back through the House with the revisions. Christiane Cordero, ABC News, Washington.
Well, that's amazing. I think that that's really a concern for everyone. 11.2 million people. Like, how are they going to decide who's capable of working? Because if people are disabled, how are they going to talk to the doctors, of these patients to say how long they could work? Or my concern is whatever their disability is, what happens when they can't meet the job requirement? And, jobs fire you if you miss a certain amount of days. So if they're already disabled, they're going to need more time off maybe than the average person. And for them to try to go to a job and be consistently there, I don't know how they're going to decide, because people have all types of different disabilities. And that's my only concern. 11.2 million, who's making the decision? How are they going to, and you can't go by age, because young people get in car accidents. Or they have, they come down with diseases, all kinds of things. So you can't say, okay, that person is 18 and they're young, but they have a disability. So are you going to say that they have to go to work, and they might be incapable, but they might go by their age? So I don't know how they're going to work this out. And then the medications, like, we're so overcharged with medications in this country. Hopefully, what Trump was working out with the pharmaceutical companies, they got to bring the costs down, because all those people, 11.8, they're going to need help with prescriptions and things like that, some to keep some of them alive. What if they have asthma? They can't, they can't afford it without the assistance of the government. So in that case, I would be protesting against that. I'm sorry. They can't do people like that, because, like, your health is everything. Money is nothing. I don't care about billionaires and millionaires, because most of the people got something to say in Congress, even the Democrats. They all millionaires and billionaires. They talking about themselves. I'm talking about the average people out here. That I'm concerned more about them. And what do you guys, how do you look at it? And what do you think about that? Who's going to determine, when you talk about that many people, as far as removing them from their health care?
For breaking news right now at 11, the Senate just passed the president's massive spending and tax bill.
The Vice President, J.D. Vance, breaking a 50-50 tie to push it over the top. ABC's Christiane Cordero has the details from Washington.
On this vote, the yeas are 50, the nays are 50. The Senate being evenly divided, the Vice President votes in the affirmative. The bill as amended is passed.
After nearly 24 hours of debate, the Senate today passing the president's massive spending and tax cut bill. The bill includes roughly $4 trillion in tax cuts for the wealthy and new funding for immigration enforcement, and fulfills some campaign pledges like no taxes on tips and overtime. The bill, by one estimate, would also add at least $3.3 trillion to the debt over the next 10 years. And the bill slashes Medicaid, despite pledges by the president not to touch the program.
Here's what I want on Medicaid. We're not touching anything.
The nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office predicting the bill will result in some 11.8 million Americans losing their health insurance coverage over the next decade.
How can any senator go home and tell their constituents, I'm sorry, I took away your health care because I wanted to give tax breaks to billionaires?
The bill now headed to the House, where House Speaker Mike Johnson can only afford to lose 3 votes. The original text of this bill passed through the House by just 1 vote. One of the Republicans who helped advance it, Representative Don Bacon of Nebraska, has signaled he may not be willing to support this bill. The bill now has to go back through the House with the revisions. Christiane Cordero, ABC News, Washington.
Yeah, this is a lot to take in. So that's like my only issue. Like, if innocent people are somehow harmed with the bill because of Medicaid. You know, I don't know how they're going to make the determination to remove that many people off of their health care. I don't know how you guys feel about it. You had all day to charge it. Why you keep doing this?
Charger.
You have one in them. Just take it. Charge your phone. I mean, come on now. You could charge your phone. What the fuck? Yeah, I don't know. But you know, we gotta like do something. This country is a lot to deal with. A lot has been going on, and we're going to find out how this bill is, and I guess more information is going to come out in regards to the bill once it goes, you know, going back to the House. I think we're going to, in the next few days, we're going to find out more details about the amendments, the revisions, and what else is going on. And hopefully that number in the next 10 years will be lowered, that 11.8 million people will not lose their health care. I could understand non-citizens, they're not Americans. That's, you know, we're kicking Americans off as well. So we can't afford to have them on it. But then the Americans, how are they going to make the determination of who gets to keep their health care and who doesn't? Who's making the determination? So do you guys know who is going to decide who gets to keep their health care and who doesn't get to keep it? They're not responsible enough to charge it. They don't. Okay, yeah, they don't need a phone. Yeah. Yeah, charge your phone. They tell them all home all day, and don't charge your own phone. If a person has actually illness that is disabilitating, they will not lose their health care. The state, based on doctors. Yeah, because I didn't know how did they come up with the number 11.8. How did they come up with the number? You know, how did they come to, you know, the number 11.8 million people? So they, you know, it has to be a database or something that they have to take that in mind for that, because that's a lot of people. That's a lot of people, because first it was like 1.2 million, whatever now, but it will be the state based on a doctor's assessment. I'm disabled and I'm tired of being last in the line and taking months to get appointments. Thank you, Trump, for the help. God bless you. Okay. God bless you, Trump. So God bless America. You know, hopefully we're going to be celebrating this bill. Hopefully it's going to help the American people, families. It's going to help seniors. It's going to help vets. It's going to help child care. It's a lot in this bill. It's going to help our borders. It's going to help make America safer. Hopefully all of those things are going to pan out and that we're moving in the right direction. We're moving in a better direction than we were, because the other way we weren't moving in any direction. We were just plundering down. So this is a lot. This is actually something being done for America. And I just want us, our president, I know he's a world leader, but I want him to focus on Americans. And we are going to come back on, but I want to jump on because this is so important, you know, the passage of this bill. in the Senate. Now it's going to go back to the House, and then it's going to reach the president's desk. And you can call your congressmen, your senators, you could call your elected officials and tell them, you know, how you feel about the Medicaid cuts that's going to, you know, take, you know, 11.8 that they're estimating will lose health care benefits in 10 years. It's a 10-year span. So maybe you could call, you know, your congressmen, your senators and say, look, that you like the bill, you like everything about the bill, but you have a problem with the cuts to Medicaid, and especially you have family members and people that you know this might personally affect them. But people that should be working, or people that aren't disabled, and people who are non-citizens, okay, you can get rid of all that waste. But people that actually need it, they should receive it. That's how I feel about it. The people that need it, they should receive it. Don't somehow cut people off that need it, and then, you know, they'll be fighting for their lives because they won't be able to go to their doctors, and they won't get the health care that they need. So that's what we're going to have to work on. 10 years of dread. Yeah, see, a lot of us are not reading a 1,200-page bill. And then, even if we did, they keep revising, and a lot of it we won't even understand some of the language that's put in the bill, you know, so that's their job. They've been reading, you could listen to them, they've been reading it over and over again for the last, I think, 24 hours. They had a reading of the bill. They have people reading it. So I'm quite sure you can find that online. I'm not going to sit back and I'm not going to listen to that, nor am I going to read a 1,200-page bill. That's what they have to do. You know, so, and anybody that's interested, they can read the bill, you know, because I'm not coming on here acting like I know everything, because I don't. I'm being educated just like the rest of us. None of us, unless you are working in that cabinet, or you're a congressman or congresswoman, then you have more insight than everyday Americans. It's amended to 940 pages. Yeah, okay. So that's still a lot. So your average American is not going to read 940 pages of this bill. But, you know, I guess you can break it down and go to what you're more interested in, how it might affect you personally in a positive way as well as a negative. But most of it, what I've been hearing, it sounds pretty good. Most people, the majority of the people, the people saying how you support a bill you haven't read. Most people, nobody, you haven't read when it was 1,440 pages. People are not sitting back because people have lives. Nobody's reading the bill, and they know that. It's like, I don't know if they make it lengthy on purposely because they know nobody wants to sit back and read something that's like reading a novel, you know. So, and it's a lot of language that's going on in there. I haven't read the bill. I haven't attempted to read the bill. We're just, you know, broadcasting it because it's breaking news that the bill passed in the Senate, and Vice President J.D. Vance was the deciding vote. Now it's going back to the House. So hopefully the House, if you have any disagreements, then that's when you're supposed to call the people that you have elected into these offices, and that's when you're supposed to express, you're supposed to look at the part in the bill that you feel as though that you're not in agreement with, and you call them and you tell them how you want them to vote in the House. That's how you exercise your rights. You're welcome, Phyllis. You know, so that's how you have to do it. But anyway, we wanted to touch on this. Don't forget to hit the like, share, and subscribe. The notification bell, don't forget to do that, because we just jump on. We might get back on because we do want to talk about the candidates that's running for mayor in New York. We do want to talk about Elon, and we do want to talk about the border and about what's going on with the detainees, and, you know, that ICE has now have the alligator Alcatraz. They'll be living better there than our American prisoners here. We don't even check on them, but everybody's worried about criminals that have broken the law since they've been here. So, oh well, that's America for you. So anyway, you guys, thanks for joining us. And like I said, thank you. God bless you. Enjoy the rest of your day. And We don't know. We're going to come back on here tomorrow. We'll really later on today, because it depends on, there's a lot that's going on. Like, it seemed like every few minutes. Trump was in Florida. We did that live. He went there. And Elon and him, of course, are going at it. And Holman, he's talking about there's act to disclose who some of the ICE agents are, and they said CNN was pushing that. So you're jeopardizing the lives of these law enforcers who are doing their jobs to keep us safe. So it's like a lot of stuff is going on right now. But God bless all of you. And like I said, don't forget to hit the notification bell. And everyone who has subscribed, thank you. This has been a long day. I kid you not, it's been so long. I haven't eaten anything today. It's just been like back to back, keeping up what's going on, because everything affects us. And like the word says, people perish for lack of knowledge. So we got it, like we're all being informed together, because no one on here knows everything. And no one on this end is going to pretend that I'm an expert at everything, because I'm not. So, but I like things to be clear and concise, so we all have an understanding. So then we know how to react. But meanwhile, you got to sit back, and there are going to be some more, probably revisions and things are going on that give us more clarity. And if you don't like what's going on, then that's when you're supposed to exercise your right. You reach out to those that you put into office, and you tell them, like, too many cuts to Medicaid. I don't like this, or I don't like that. And they're supposed to be the voice of the people. They're supposed to do what we want them to do. So anywho, God bless y'all. Thank y'all. I do appreciate everyone for taking their time, to support this channel by subscribing. And I did start to Speak the Truth 2.0 Instagram, but I have to start, sending stuff over there and working on that. But anyway, we get ready to jump off of here. And you guys, thank you for my moderators. I see the Mr. Buki, and I know Chevy was on here, and he wants me to do about the mayor's race in New York, about the candidate. He's like, please do that. But I'd like to bring somebody on for that one, because when you think the Democrats can't get any worse, Lord have mercy. I mean, man, I don't know, they moving in the right direction, but God is good and God is in control. So anyway, thanks guys. Love you all. Stay blessed. Stay blessed. One nation under God. God bless everyone. Talk to y'all later. Bye. Love you.